Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Making Waves at Sea Level. My name is Thom Singer, and I hope you're going to enjoy today's podcast because I'm going to challenge you and your company to really dive deep into how are we serving the greater good of the communities where our employees live. Because I think it's really important that companies and the leaders in those companies are leading by example. Imagine for just a moment that every single company in your community had 3 executives in the C-suite who were involved in organizations throughout your town. I'm talking about being members, volunteering, serving on committees, being on boards. What if 3 executives in every company rolled up their sleeves and donated their time and their efforts to a civic group, to a charity group, to a business group? Imagine what that would do, not only for the company, but what it would do for the whole community. Think about it for a minute, right? If 3 people were actively involved in helping raise up your community, what would that do? It would raise the visibility of the company. It would make employees feel great because it's been proven that employees like to work for companies who they see give back to the greater good of their community or of their industry. And it would make recruiting easier because people would see your company everywhere and they would know that it was a company that had heart. It was a company that wanted to put its money where its mouth was. And it was a company who cared about the community where they lived. Now, I think that you should have more than 3 people in your company who are involved with something in your community. But you can't just turn around and tell people, go out and get involved, because leaders have to lead by example. That's why I believe that every company should have C-suite members, be it the CEO, the CFO, the chief marketing officer, whoever, the head of HR, the people in leadership. Those people should be involved in something in the community, and they should be publicly making sure that their people know that they support more than just the bottom line of the company, that giving back to the greater good is part of the culture of the organization. Now, think about what would happen to the company if at least 3 people were volunteering at the highest level to make sure that the local charities, the local civic organizations, the local business groups were able to thrive. All of a sudden, you would have so many volunteers, so many really brilliant minds who were adding to the conversations that you would see an uptick in great things happening around the community. Now, I have an advantage. I get to talk to a lot of executives. And one of the questions I ask is, what does your company support here in the community? Very often the answer is, what do you mean? We don't support anything. We're too busy trying to grow the company. There's all kinds of excuses as to why people aren't leading to give back to the community. But my belief is that we need to get back to this idea of civic-minded leadership. We need to find companies not always thinking, what's in it for me as an executive, or how does this impact my bottom line? I think sometimes people just have to show up and do good things. And the more people who do that in the community, the more they set the example, the more they build the culture within their company that if you want to exceed, if you want to succeed, if you want to excel inside this company, you have to find a way to serve the greater good. I'm passionate about this cause. I'm constantly asking people, hey, your company, and this isn't just the senior staff, I'm asking people in lots of organizations, what does your company support? How is your company involved in the community? How are they giving back? And which executives of yours are mentoring people, are serving on boards, etc.? And I am surprised that most people have no idea. Now, that doesn't mean the company's not doing something. I talked to one executive and he told me, he said, you have no idea how much money I secretly give to charity. And that is great. I respect that. I admire it. And I think it's wonderful. But I think he's missing the boat. If he isn't getting involved in something in town and showing the people around him, both his employees, his vendors, his customers, and his peers, that he wants to make a difference in making that community better, then who knows where the money's going? It's great that he's doing it, but it doesn't matter. And I challenge this same person that communities need to have people coming together and sharing ideas and really having leaders show up to lead the community. And he told me, well, I get together every quarter, and he named off a few of his buddies. He goes, we get together at my pool and we drink bourbon. Well, that's awesome. It's also the definition of an ivory tower. I think there's a point where we need to think, do we admire people who just get a lot of funding and have exits and make a lot of money? Or do we admire people who really roll up their sleeves and make a difference for others in their community? Now, some people disagree with me. I talk a lot about this subject, and I ask a lot of companies, who in your company is mentoring people? Who in your company is involved? Who in your company is giving back and serving on boards? And they look at me sometimes like I'm crazy, that their purpose isn't to serve the community. Their purpose is to serve themselves, to serve their shareholders, to serve their investors. And I don't disagree with that, but I think everybody can succeed more if real leaders were leading by example. It's interesting because oftentimes successful people, they want to be a pillar of the community. They want to lead, but they refuse to show up at events in the community. They don't want to volunteer for a committee. They don't want to be on a board. And they certainly don't go to any type of networking event unless they've been asked to be on the panel or to be the speaker. Well, you know what? To be a leader, you don't just show up when you're being honored or you're on stage. To be a leader, sometimes you have to show up with your community. You have to understand who are the people who live in this community. Who are the people who are serving this slice of the community that I'm getting involved with? If you're not making yourself accessible, you're not really a leader. You're just trying to look famous and trying to look cool throughout the organization. So I encourage you, whether you're in the C-suite of your company or you're someone who aspires to leadership, I challenge you. Ask yourself and ask the other people in your company, what 3 executives do we have who are volunteering and giving back? And what types of organizations are they giving to? And are they just writing checks and being members? Or are they on committees? Are they on the board? Are they really making a difference? Are they being leaders? And if nobody seems to know or nobody seems to care, no matter what your job title is, maybe you have to be the person who steps up and becomes that leader, who makes sure that you're out there. Because if your company has its employees, and especially its leadership, active in the community, if you have those people who are participating and thriving, people are going to notice your company. It's going to make it easier to recruit people. It's going to make retention better because, like I said, people want companies to do more than just have big bottom lines. People want executives to do more than just make a lot of money. They want to see leaders stand up and lead. And we're actually seeing this in government. We don't want people who are just, look at me, aren't I great? They suck, I'm great. They suck, I'm great. We are hungry in this country to have political leaders who will stand up and lead and actually have something to say and look to the future and not make it all about themselves. So please think about, what can my company do to support causes that exist at the business level, at the civic level, at the arts level, and at the charity level? And make sure that your company is supporting a variety of different types of organizations. The more people that you can have involved in the community, the higher the visibility and the higher the respect for your company that's going to come along. And I believe that when you do that, that's going to affect your bottom line. It doesn't happen by accident. Writing a check doesn't get you anywhere. Showing up at one meeting won't have an impact. Even volunteering one day isn't going to do a thing. But if the culture of your company is, hey, we're successful and we're here in this community, and part of our responsibility of being a successful organization in this community is to go out and help the greater good. If that's your culture, you're going to make more money than your competitors. So get out there and do it. And go ahead and reach out to me if you disagree with me. I've been wrong before. Sometimes I get passionate about things and people come and tell me you're not looking at it the right way. And I learn and I grow. One of the problems I think we have is that everybody thinks they have to be right all the time. I'm here to tell you, I'm not right all the time. I'm wrong a lot, but I learn and I grow. But this is a topic that you're going to have to work hard to convince me that I think it's a bad idea for your executives to be volunteering. You're going to have to work hard to convince me that it doesn't impact the greater good of society and it doesn't impact the greater good of your company. Because I believe that when people show up and volunteer and roll up their sleeves and get things done for something that isn't their job, everybody wins. So what do you think? And who are the executives in your company who are leading by example? It's important. We need leaders who will lead, not who will sit by their pool and drink bourbon and say, oh, well, there's a lot of problems out there, but I'm rich. It's okay. No, we need people who want to roll up their sleeves and help our society be better. And it starts with successful companies. So that's my 2 cents for this week's episode of Making Waves at Sea Level. Thanks for tuning into this podcast. And I hope you'll keep listening and share it with a friend. We're here every week with some little tidbit of idea. Sometimes I'm not quite this passionate about it, but I want to challenge you on this topic. What boards are you serving on? And who are you mentoring? And what are you doing to impact your community? If you don't know the answer to that, I ask you this. Why don't you know the answer? Hey, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.